introduce you to my good friend, Harold Klein.
I know Ted for many decades, actually,
yes.
And I want to thank him for inviting me back to my alma mater. I haven't been here for many decades, and it's really rewarding to just walk around the campus and see how vibrant it is and how vibrant it will continue to be. I think because of people like Ted that's committed to the school in such a way. So I want to thank you again. I appreciate it. Just a brief I have an agenda, okay? And I want to forewarn you that I'm going to test you at the end of my discussion, okay? So nobody sleeps. And first let me introduce myself. Like Ted said, I'm Harold Klein. And it's actually 36 years ago that I started my company, which is a video production company that was born in this building. Just by coincidence, it was born in this building, and my wife and I started it together while we were dating, not my future wife, who was going to be my future wife, while we were dating in Brooklyn College. And today we were pioneers in video. There was no video going on back in that time, as far as being able to tape something and see it. Everything that's incredible about video today, there was just no video back then. And today we own a video production company, and one of the things that I think is relevant to what I'm going to share with you today, and why I thought of my presentation in such a linear way, is that we do an amazing amount of entrepreneurial work. We do work with Inc. magazine, we do work with Business Week, we've recently gone to Las Vegas and shot Tony Hsieh, who's the owner of Zappos, the founder of JetBlue. So we have an amazing world of experience. I've had the good fortune of being able to, since 1980, we started in 1976, in '84 I landed Inc. magazine as an account, and because of that we began to do a lot of work in the entrepreneurial world. So that's just a brief, and we sell our videos, by the way. Our newest thing, our newest venture is a video that is going to be introduced any day now to the college and the high school market on young entrepreneurs, how to start and build a company. And we went around the country and featured an incredible group of young entrepreneurs, so incredible that old people like myself can learn a lot from the people that have started a business. So I have a goal. My main goal is not to just feel good about telling you a story or a couple of stories. My main goal is that what I share with you, you get a couple of points out of. I was taught sometimes we make commercials, and I was taught a long time ago by some very savvy media people, if you give a presentation or if you do something in a short period of time, make sure that you communicate one or two things. That's it. So if I'm going to talk for 20 minutes and you walk away with two things, I'm going to be very fulfilled. Okay? So that's an important lesson. So I'm also going to tell you now that everything that I'm going to share with you is peppered with lessons. Just a couple of lessons. The main two lessons that I want you to retain is going to come up often, and I'm not going to tell you what those two lessons are. So my agenda goes like this. My agenda goes that first I introduced myself. I am going to tell you a story, a quick story that affected my life, especially in the business world. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Then I'm going to tell you the story of how I started my business and got it growing a little bit, and then we'll review and see what we picked up out of it. So again, if you want to write it down, if you hear common threads, common themes of what I'm trying to communicate to you as a lesson, jot it down because I'll ask you about it. So the story goes like this. When I was 16 years old, I was working at a place upstate, you're probably still in business, called Rocking Horse Ranch. An incredible ranch upstate, it's a resort. And I started when I was 14, and I was a dishwasher, and I went up to Rocking Horse with a friend of mine, and as the dishwasher, we saw certain things in the kitchen that were pretty scary. People were shooting up in the kitchen, because we were 14 and everybody else was 20, 21, 22, people you don't really want to hang out with. They took terrible advantage of us. So the first day, meaning that when our shift was done at 10, they made us at night and started at 6 in the morning. They said, no, you're cleaning up the rest of the kitchen. Till midnight, till 1 o'clock in the morning. My friend immediately left. He called his father, pick me up, I'm out of here. I said, I'm going to try and stick it out. So I stuck it out a couple of days, and I was able to talk to the owner of the place, and I said, listen, I don't want to quit. but if there's anything else you can give me here, I love this place. And he said, well, let me think. He got me a job as a counselor there. So I was a counselor, and then at the age of 16, while I was working as a counselor and I was finishing my shift in the afternoon, I was walking through the parking lot. And there was a pebble parking lot, and I heard the crunches of the pebbles, and I saw cars there. And I said, one day I'm going to have a car in that parking lot. And I was going this way through the parking lot where they put the staff. And the staff's quarters were not too nice. There must have been 12 in a room, and you had to sleep with cowboys, and all kinds of things happened with cowboys that I can't repeat. And the head counselor had his own small little house, which was down the road. So as I was walking through the pebbles and knowing I was going this way, I saw myself walking towards my car and driving to that little house as if I were the head counselor. I also knew Harry Kay, who was the head counselor at the time. It was his last summer there. So a couple days later, I went over to Bucky, the owner of the ranch. I said, Bucky, what a great name for a guy who owns a ranch. I said, Bucky, I want to be the head counselor next year. So he said, no. I said, but can't we just, he said, no. So I wasn't exactly motivated at that time about the ranch, but I got motivated because I got upset. Why no so fast? So what I did was, after the summer, I asked Harry, I said, is there any other place I could work? Maybe during Passover time, which was busy in the hotels at that time, or Christmas time. And he said, yeah, I'll get you a job. It's not going to be a lot of people, but you can run with Tamarack. You remember Tamarack? Tamarack Lodge? So I ran the camp during Passover time in just for 1 week. And then I said, okay, what can I leverage? I called him up. I said, I really want to go back to Rocky. He says, then you know what you do? Tell them you work at Tamarack, and they know each other, the owners, and then tell them that without being paid, you'll create what you see the curriculum for the camp will be, what the activities for the camp. So I went back and I created on paper, in detail, and creating things on paper was not easy then. You took a ruler and you had to make lines. Computers weren't existing, and then you had to type it, and if you made a mistake. So it took me a long time. And I mailed it to him. There was no internet. There were no fax machines. And I called Bucky, and he says, you know what? It sounds really good. I heard you did a really good job. Come be the head counselor next year. So I got the job as a head counselor. And that whole experience, I called upon this week. I called upon 2 months ago in my entrepreneurial world, in my entrepreneurial journey. So that's the first story. And again, like I said, I'm sharing with you that there's certain things that I am peppering within each thing I'm doing. The next thing is I'm going to ask you some questions. Okay. And just raise your hand, I'll call on you. Why are you in this class?
Because we want to learn more about becoming entrepreneurs, so we'll be successful.
To be successful, or?
To make money and...
To make money or start a business?
Yeah, I'm saying...
You want to start a real estate business, okay? You think that's really a great idea?
Yeah.
But everybody here that spoke before said that they're going into the real estate business. So if everybody's going to real estate business, and a lot of people want to go into the real estate business, why do you think you're different?
Because I think I'll be able to persist and maintain the properties and be able to, let's say, I know a little bit about real estate, and I'll be able to...
Don't you think you need to know a lot about real estate? If there's a lot of people going into real estate, you have to know more than the next person?
Well, that's why I plan on getting a partner, and I'm not going in right now, but...
So you're going to rely on the partner?
No.
Do you know what happens with partners?
You have to trust them. And
how often partnerships don't work?
I know.
50% of marriages end in divorce. Right? It's true. And what happens? You're going to go into bad neighborhoods. You're going to go into bad neighborhoods. I have partnership in a building in Brooklyn. 2 people are not paying. It's now $15,000 in legal bills. And we're just breaking even. Now, if they don't pay another month, we're in the negative. You're going to be able to handle that?
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Okay. Who else? Why did you take these courses here, if you're ready for this treatment?
So my main goal is to be a real estate lawyer, but
You want to be a real estate lawyer?
But I have a lot of ideas, and I chose to be in this class to be able to like having a lot of inventions that I thought of, and a lot of business ideas. So I want to know how to put them.
So what's one idea?
So one idea was actually this website.
A website.
Yeah, website. Like you have an avatar, and you have all this. Like you have Macy's, Sears, and you.
Okay, you want to start a new gaming website?
No,
not a gaming website.
To be able to put the clothing on you, like it's an avatar of yourself.
Oh.
Put the clothing on you, and you can buy the clothing from that website.
That's a great idea, by the way.
My website,
That's
and then they pay me. Like either they pay me every month to have their clothing on my website, like their icon, or they pay me by the clothing, by everything I sell.
Do you know how much it costs to start a website, a proper one?
That's why you have to find like an investor. That's what I'm trying to think of. Like doing this class to learn everything.
How to get an investor.
Yeah, and a lot of.
So with I think internet, and we do, like I said, we're doing a lot of entrepreneurial work. More than half the people that we're going to speak to are starting all kinds of websites. It is a good idea, but they're all great ideas. And there are tons and tons of people that are doing websites. So why do you think your website, it'll cost a fortune, you're going to need an investor as a partner that could really screw you. You're going to need to market. You know, you could have the greatest product in the world if you don't market it. Right?
So you have to make something it's not out, and that a lot of people.
Well, stay on the avatar. Why are you going away from that?
No, a lot of people don't want to go to the store and like try the clothing on or see how it fits.
Right. So how are you going to find that kind of funds in order to make it?
So that's what I'm trying to do. Like I'm in this class to learn how to reach those people, and
even though, I think there's a statistic that says if you're starting a web company, I think it's like 100 to 1 odds that you won't make it.
Yeah, so you have to try a lot of different things.
But what about the ad? You still would want to go into that avatar thing? Because you got to not only start it, you have to educate people as to what the idea is.
Yeah, so the reason why I wanted to, my main thing is real estate law, because I know there's a lot of money in that already. I know
so that's your fallback. You're going to go into real estate law.
Yeah, that's when hopefully I'll make money there. And with that, if I don't have investors, I'm able to invest my product, like my inventions, put money in my inventions.
The avatar concept.
Yeah, or anything else.
Anybody else want to? Okay.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I'm in this class is I think what separates a person and a true entrepreneur is that everyone has ideas, but the true entrepreneur is able to take those ideas and put them into action. And me personally, I had ideas, I put them into action, and they didn't work. But I understand that's part of starting a business. I believe that the more you surround yourself by successful people, the more successful you'll be. That's the reason why I'm in this class. That's why I want to hear people like you speak.
Who said I'm successful?
Well, it depends, you said like yourself, you started a business, and that's still running right now, and if 50% of businesses fail, and yours looks like it's running, I guess I would consider that.
Put on a good image, huh? What kind of, do you have anything in mind that you want to do?
Well, I got a few things. I currently have a business. I have I have a website that does phone repairs for now. Looking to expand as well, and I feel like I kind of reached the barrier of how big I could get, just because there's so much me as a student could do. I might need to bring on a partner. I might look for investors.
You could drop out of school like Zuckerberg, right?
Well, that's an option. Absolutely. Well, that is an option. So there's so many things that I could choose to do, and there's no right or wrong way. There's really no. But I believe if the more feedback and the more experience I see, I would be better suited to make the right choice.
So you're committed to find. You're sounding like you need an inspiration, a revelation. And then you're going to make that move. I don't think you should drop out.
No, I know. My backup plan is actually to go to business school. So I have a passion for business as well. But like entrepreneur was like more of a hobby, and I realized I can make money on the side doing things. And I had several successes. Like I've been selling things online, but like I said, I felt like I reached like the limit of things I could do.
But let's say you're trying to, you're not making enough money to raise a family right now in this business. You're going to start another business, okay? It doesn't work. What then?
I believe that I will keep trying. Like that's like my passion. Like I love turning nothing into something.
Okay, you just mortgaged everything you have. Your mother lent you all this money. that's gone. Yeah, another couple $100.
Well,
left.
you know what? I think at that point, I would have, if I'm in this situation, I would give it still another risk because I have no family. I have nothing to lose. 10 years down the line.
Really great. That's great. So let me again. Everything I'm doing, I'm peppering with some of the lessons that I want to share with you, and then I'm going to ask you what you think those were. So here's how my story with starting our company, because I'm the co-founder, and the company's called Teletime Video. I was going to Brooklyn College, and let me give you a little background first on elements of the story. I always worked. Okay, I always worked from 12 years, 10 years old. I always worked, whether it be delivering for a pharmacy or busboy in the Flame restaurant on Ralph Avenue, or I always worked. And I even started. I worked for a company called TV Facts, selling ad space for a little newspaper that was picked up, a news weekly that was picked up in the supermarkets, and I was going in and out selling ad space for that magazine. And then I decided to start my own to compete with them. We made enough money to buy a big cigar in a good restaurant and eat a nice meal, me and my partner. And that was when I was 17. So here I am in Brooklyn. And another part that you need to know is that my father, may he rest in peace, is a Holocaust survivor. And he came to America with nothing. He literally lived on benches in the park, and he learned how to speak English, and he had a skill of making shoes, which actually saved him during the Holocaust because some of the Russian commanders favored people that could make shoes. And he took that skill here, and he became a tailor. And he made leather goods and coats, and he was incredibly talented as a tailor. But he never ever made it big, even though he started when he was about 65, 66 years old. He started a factory after working for a number of people, and he had about 30 or 40 employees. He was busier than busy could be, but he had no idea. He thought that every employee was going to work as hard as he did, and that just wasn't the case. So he started getting sick, and the doctor said to him, you can keep doing, you'll die, or get out of it now. So he had to get out of it, quickly, and he ended up starting a store on Avenue U called the Quality Leather Shop, until that unfortunately burnt down and he had no real insurance on it, and then he retired at about 77 years old. So that's elements, okay? So I'm going to Brooklyn College, and I'm dating my lovely wife, my lovely girlfriend, Nan. And as a good Jewish girl, knowing that we're getting serious, she says, okay, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? So I was, at that time, it was a good time for me. I was a waiter in a restaurant called San Marco in Brooklyn. I wasn't religious at the time. And making about $130, $140 cash a weekend. So that was a lot of money back then. And so my pockets were always filled with money. I had a little sports car, a little Fiat with the top down. And everything was good. And I was in Brooklyn College studying television and radio. Not that I loved television and radio, it was the easiest courses to take. So I'm cruising along, and then now Nan says to me, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to be a producer, I'm going to be a director. She goes, really? How do you know you're going to be a producer? I said, because I'm taking television. So she says, well, you better check it out. We're going to get married one day. And so a couple things happened. We're in Manhattan, and we're waiting online for a movie theater, and we're near the ABC building. And I went to the guard standing outside at night, and I said, just tell me, who do I go to for getting a job here? He says, I've been out here for 6 years waiting to get a job inside. Okay. So next, I go to an employment agency for media. And there was more people in the lobby waiting than in this classroom. And I said, she goes, well, you might want to change, the field that you're in. It's very hard. And then I called somebody else and said, yeah, you can get a job in South Carolina for minimum wage. And they're not going to pay you for every hour you work. So now I did what was a really great thing to do, is because I didn't want to go into my father's business. At the time he had the factory. And the reason I didn't want to go into my father's business was because when I visited him while he was a worker at one of the companies he worked with, he was a tailor. It was literally a sweatshop. So I remember seeing my father behind the gate with one of the wife beater t-shirts, sweating and working like a dog. And that forever stayed in my mind. So that, to me, at that time, was not an option. So what I did when I heard where my life was going, I did the really great thing to do, and as I went into depression. And depression for a few days. I didn't shave, I couldn't eat, but I was in this building, and I was taking a course called Alternative Television with Dr. Gemelos, I think his name is. And he brings up this machine this big with reels on it and says you can, like there's a video camera here, but it was this big, and there was a big video camera, and then there was a big TV. You could tape things on this new technology and play it back on any TV. I said, wow. Now remember, I told you I started something that sold to retail stores. So I started saying, I could see in those retail, you could play that on a TV? We knew we could do video, but it was professional video in studios and gigantic cameras, but not portable like this. I'm mocking portable like this. So I said, I think I had an idea, because nobody knew video then. Nobody knew you could put something on TV. My idea was combining elements of my life and experiences. I could go to a store and shoot their merchandise inside the store and put the TV in the window, and people outside will see things that are inside. That, remember, it's not a novelty to you, but that was an impossibility back then. They could see things inside the store. A store owner would really want to advertise that way to create attention to the goods and their establishment. So I said, wow, I got to try this out. I went down to, I think his name was Dr. Foster, who was the head of the TV department, and I said, can I borrow one of those machines? I want to go to Kings Highway and tape some, and he says, no, we can't lend you one of these machines. I said, but I can create my own job, I can create my future. He says, you know how much this is a $2,000 machine. We can't lend, and that's a lot of money, so maybe $15,000 today. I can't lend it, I can't give it to you. I said, look, I just took a course on criticism in TV with Dr. Erickson. I'll never forget it. The hardest course I ever had, the best course I ever had. And he said to us in the class, he said, you know what all you're going to be doing? You're going to be selling cars, you're going to be selling real estate, you're not going to be in television. So I said, my professor just told me that all these years that I'm going for television, I'm not going to be in television, and I have an opportunity right now. If you just lend me this machine, I could go onto Kings Highway and I can create, and I'll give it back to you in 2 days. So he let me have it. So I went to Kings Highway. I went to 9 different stores, in and out of my. Leanne was with me, and we're going in and out, and we're shooting in the front. And somebody, what are you doing? I said, I'll see you tomorrow. So I would take it home, and I would put my voice, and inside the clothes horse, you can get these, and I would bring it back to those 9 stores. 6 of them said, no, we don't want to do it. 3 of them said, maybe we'll do it. It seems like they were all, they couldn't believe they put the stores on TV. So 3 of them said that they would do it. That was enough. So we took out a loan, and between the 2 of us, and we bought a machine. And we went back, and I said, I own a machine now, will you do it? And I was charging $70 or something to do it, and that would include me giving you the machine, because nobody had machines. VHS was not yet, it was just about to come out. So the Clothes Horse was the first one on King. I don't know if it's still there anymore, the Clothes Horse on Kings Highway. So we did a video, and then Nan and I went and we put the speakers on the outside, and it took me hours to set it up. And then I go to and then the store's going to open, I went to work in the restaurant. So she calls me from a pay phone, because there's no cell phones, and she goes, it's not going too good. I said, what? She goes, we forgot that the sun hits the window. Sun hitting the window, you can't see the TV. He said the guy's telling me to get it out of his window because he doesn't want to press the button anymore to end the sound. I said, so at the end of my shift, I ran over there and he says, Harold, we don't want this here. I don't want to, I'll pay you what I owe you, and then all of a sudden, I don't want any part of it. And then I realized the other 2 stores that were going to do it, they were outside, they're not going to want it either. So I got into a conversation with them. I'm panicking inside because we took a loan out for $2,000. This is my whole future. It got me out of depression. And we got to talking, and he says, but they can't see it, you know. And I said, do you have any other places? And he said, I have a place in the mall. So all of a sudden, in my head, I said, what a perfect place to put it. It was under a different name. It was called the Cherry Tree at that time. So I said, we'll do a video in the mall. I won't charge it. I won't charge it. Let me just try it. So what happened was we went to next week we said, let me do it. Put the TV in front of this Cherry Tree. When it was done, 50, 75 people started stopping and coming in, and there were crowds in front of the store. So then all of a sudden another store wanted to do it. Then another store wanted to do it. And so we were doing videos in malls. And as I was delivering a TV, you know, I would do the video and I have to give them my machine, because when machines came out, they started being like a Betamax was about $2,500 at that time. I gave them my machine, and as I'm walking to drop it off, in my head I'm thinking, why don't I go to 3 different malls at the same? I could see myself going to 3 different malls. I'll drop this one off. I don't have the other 2 machines, but I can go to the Smith Haven Mall, and I can go to a mall in the Cherry Hill Mall, and I can go to Kings Plaza, and I only had 1 machine. So I was able to convince my supplier, who sold me the first machine, because I was young, and he knew that, very young, 21 years old. And I said, listen, I think I have a business. I'll pay it off. There was a longer discussion than that, but he agreed to sell me 2 other machines, paying it off over time. So the business started to go, and I had to quit the restaurant. And I want to tell you one other thing. When I was starting the business, which I left out, my parents said, what, are you crazy? They didn't know what video was. You're going to borrow money and start a business? I wasn't living the dream of a Jewish mother being a doctor. And people in the restaurant, I'll never forget, one waiter said to me, one of who went into being a doctor, and he said, Harold, it's a pipe dream. You're never going to make it. What, are you crazy? And I'll never forget that, because that was really motivating to me, by the way, when he told me it was a pipe dream. So it's going well in the various malls. And all of a sudden, not in 1 mall, but in 2 malls, in every mall, we're creating such a crowd in front of these stores that the mall owners, the management of the mall said to the stores, you can't play the TVs in there. Because within their leases, it says you can't have any audio-visual devices, because it started creating a stir. And just as in, how much time do I have?
A couple minutes.
Okay, so we did things to create a stir. So, but I wasn't allowed in the malls anymore. So now what? So I went in and I said, I went into a store. Let's say I was dealing with the manager of G&G shops. This is a bigger company. So bottom line on all that is that I ended up getting into the company. The manager at the store, when I was told I can't be in the mall anymore, the manager in the store, because I talked to the manager, where's your corporate headquarters? On 37th Street in Manhattan. I said, look, I'm struggling. Now I have all these machines I got to pay off. I can't pay it off. Can you tell me a person I can call in the company? So he gave me the person's name, and I went in and I said, we can do training things. So we started doing work for companies at that time, and no longer retail displays, and that ended up getting myself and our company into companies, and then it became larger and larger. We now do work with Dell, we do work with AT&T, so we're doing corporate, aside from our entrepreneurial work, we ended up going into corporate communication work, which has done very nicely for us in all these years.
So it evolved from the TV sets in the malls, and as your technology or as mall policy changed, it went to producing training tapes.
Training tapes, promotional tapes. I ended up getting into Estee Lauder. We were talking about that.
Right.
So if you see on a counter in Estee Lauder, video, we don't do them right now, but videos on the counter, similar to our retail work that we were doing. I got Estee Lauder to, we convinced Estee Lauder to use our services. In fact, it was very difficult to convince Estee Lauder. I was just up there I was at 22, 23 at the time, and this young little guy and not dressed properly, in this incredible company, and they had just finished doing a $25,000 video in those days, in that money, and they said, we're not doing video anymore because this was a bomb for us. I looked at it and said, it was shot beautiful, but it wasn't put together well. Anyway, I convinced them for very little money, I'll fix it, and then hopefully we'll start a relationship. And that happened. I did work for Estee Lauder for 13 to 14 years.
Okay.
So now, just as a review.
Okay, you have a minute, and then we'll take a few questions because I have to get you out on time.
Okay, so just as a review, I'll just go for two. What are the two main things I'm trying to communicate, the one I'm sharing with you?
Like, you should persist, like you shouldn't give up, and then, like, even let's say, I'm not sure the second one, maybe, like, even though if people tell you, like, it's not good, and you should still do it.
Good.
Yeah, you hit on, first with the camp, you had like a vivid vision of an opportunity. But the most important thing is, I think it's highly 7 habits of highly effective people. You began with an end in mind, specifically with the camp. You said, oh, I want to be there. And what did you do? Got there.
Okay, so I'm gonna cut it shorter. Those are the 2 points. First is, I saw something. I don't see this in books. If you see something in detail, okay, then something could happen. If you see something in detail, then something can happen. Pat Riley, when he took over the Knicks, what he did was, I don't know if you remember this, the first year he took them on midnight on New Year's Eve to Madison Square Garden, because he wanted them to know what it was like to be the first team on the court and then the last team on the court at the end of the year to leave. They went. I think they went to the finals that year, right? So it was visioning, the power of seeing something, not forcing yourself to see something. This is my theory. If you end up seeing that picture in your head of what your day is going to look like, of you walking to that cabin, of how you're going to drive up to the mall, of how you're going to put the keys in to fix the house, if you actually see it, I believe we operate very much like computers, that you can program yourself, if you're given the tools in a class like this, to get to that destination. The second point, which is as powerful as anything you'll ever hear, and that's what I was playing with you in the beginning, is the power of no. The power of no. There's a woman from Estee Lauder, one of the brightest women I ever met as far as street smarts goes. She was Mrs. Lauder's right-hand person, helped grow the company, Ida Stewart. She says in a southern brawl, and she speaks and she's about 90 years old. She goes, that little old word no is the most powerful word you'll ever hear. You know why? Because when you take that little old word N-O, you just turn it around to O-N. Because when you hear no, you're on. So that's the 2 things. I can't tell you how. If somebody says no to you and you get discouraged and you move on to something else, it ain't meant to be. And you got to deprogram yourself from today's technology. You got to deprogram yourself from today's technology. I'm saying it again because it's so important, because you get things in 1 second. If you don't get it, you move on to something else. It's really powerful if you can handle no. It's really powerful if you can see where you're going. That's it.
Okie doke. Thank you, Harold. Any questions for Harold? Because I know we're really short on time, but we can take a couple of questions.
How was it starting a business with your wife? Because as a partner at home, a partner in business, so was it difficult?
Well, she wasn't my wife at the time, so everything was good. If it was, we had a mutual goal. We wanted to create a life together. Okay, so it was, but we also had roles. She actually ended up working at a bank to help support us. Later on, she works with me now. So there's a lot of challenges when it's, your home, and a business is also like your family.
Right.
So you really have to understand how to break away from it. And when you should, I feel also, you should delve into it even at home sometimes. But you have to both have that understanding that you're doing that.
How long did it take after you started from like one of the stores till actually the business was up and running and it was a full-time commitment?
It took me about, no, it was always a full-time commitment.
Well, I mean, yeah.
It took me close to 8 years to make money.
Okay.
We had no partners other than that first bank loan, and any money we took in, my wife was working at a bank at that time, paying for our rent, and any money I had, I was just putting right back into the business.
Through all the struggles and mishaps, what was it that really, was it the same thing that kept you going all the way through to say, you know, I have to do this, I want to do this, or were there different things along the way? Like you said that your father said, you know, what are you doing crazy, and that motivated you? Was that the same thing?
It didn't demotivate me. I never worked for anybody except for when I was 17, and then in the restaurant was my last job. I don't know anything else. So I have to always create something to get to my next level. And fear, not that I'm shaking, like business is tough right now, so I'm not scared. But fear of what else I might be doing is a tremendous driving force. Fear, if you use it properly, can really, really be an amazing tool in your life. I knew a chairman of a company there was a stock guy at the company when he was 17, and we were talking about this, and he took out a $1. He says, I keep $1 in my left pocket at all times because I make believe it's my last one, and it keeps me going.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you.